Saturday Night Football, live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Remember, football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. And don't miss Leicester City against Newcastle on Super Sunday, live only on Sky Sports. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball, listen on News Talk, watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app for iOS and Android. So search OTB Sports in your app store to download it if you haven't already. We're joined by the UEFA Pro Licence coach Shane Keegan, the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward, and the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell, to speak about the beautiful game. Manchester City 1, Wolves 0 in the Premier League, with Raul Jimenez sent off, Raheem Sterling with a second half penalty. And a couple of breaking stories today. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the Arsenal captain, has been left out of their squad for the match against Southampton because of disciplinary reasons, and Tottenham will not play Rennes at all now in that UEFA Conference League because of the COVID issue at Spurs that caused the game to be called off on Thursday. So UEFA just have to decide now what they're going to do. Are Spurs going to forfeit that and be out of the Conference League? We'll see that develop over the next while. For Liverpool today, we have Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in for Diogo Jota. But we're going to start off with Man City Wolves, Shane Keegan. And it was a bizarre game in that Jimenez got sent off for 2 yellow cards in a minute, and then Moutinho was penalised for a penalty in the second half when the ball, to me, seemed to hit his armpit.
Yeah, I was sure to be overturned, JD. I don't know about you. I assumed that if it hits them on the body, I thought it hit the body and then come onto the arm, which to me, in my understanding of the rules, was that wouldn't be given as a penalty. So I really expected the referee's decision to be overturned. So they were hard done by there. The Raul Jimenez one, I mean, that's just absolute stupidity, isn't it?
Explain what happened there, Shane.
So okay, the first yellow card is debatable. He kind of has a little pull back on Rodri. And look, Rodri's not heading away for goal or anything. He's slowing down the play, but he's not slowing down the play and denying a goal scoring opportunity. So 50-50 really whether it's a yellow card or not, but the ref decides to go with the yellow card. But from the resultant free, Rodri looks to take it. Jimenez stands in his way. The ref kind of signals to come back from it a little bit initially. Doesn't overly signal to come back from it. But the point is, I've seen before, JD, to be honest with you, I would have encouraged my players in the past that if somebody is standing over a ball like that, just leather the ball at him. Because there's a good chance that the ref might book him for standing in the way. So if he's stupid enough to stand in the way, take advantage of it. But the point here was 5, 6, 7 seconds had passed with Rodri standing over the ball looking to take it, and Jimenez continually standing in front of him. And Rodri was like, will you get out of my way? Will you get out of my way? Will you get out of my way? It wasn't that he took advantage of him to kick the ball off him. And he waited and he waited. And even when he kicked it, he didn't kick it straight at him. Jimenez still had to stick out a leg to try and intercept the pass that he was trying to make. And it's a yellow card. Like, it can't not be a yellow card. It's absolute stupidity on his behalf.
Dan, this is the kind of result, though, that's going to win the City the title, I feel. These grinding at these 1-0 wins as Chelsea lose matches.
Yeah, no, I guess so, John. I think, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I mean, there will be silly points dropped at various stages. I know what you mean. Like, I mean, at an earlier point in the season, Chelsea were being very efficient in these type of games, and you might have said the same thing there too. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, it depends. Like, you think that the bar for winning the league this year is going to be pretty high, as we've probably discussed before, and you've discussed in every other week that, you feel that the three teams are going to pick up a large number of points between them. And I don't know if you could look at City today, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily one of those, that's why they're champions type performances. I didn't think, in the circumstances, they made heavy enough weather of it, whereas you could almost expect them at another time to be even better with the extra man. So I don't know. I'm sure in time, if they win the league, you can look back and say it was important. But and I suppose you could also say that these 12-30 games on the Saturday can be they can be strange ones sometimes. Like, teams can be a bit lethargic and a bit flat and not at their level. But I mean, I do tend to agree with Shane as well that there was probably more of a handball episode in the first half that was sort of as debatable as the one in the second half. So they were fortunate enough in their circumstances. But like There's a lot of twists and turns to come in this title race yet too. I don't know if anyone's definitively able in a position to I don't know, has anyone's view changed since the start of the season?
Yeah,
but it's certainly an interesting one.
My view on Chelsea's changed because I think that there's issues there with Chilwell's gone, Conte is injured, Jorginho is not fully fit. They've got a lot of defenders with issues around their contracts, and I just see the cracks begin to appear. They've conceded 6 goals in the last week, and they don't look as secure as they did. And I just think that Liverpool and City, maybe they got stronger squads. Like Kevin De Bruyne is not starting today. He has to win back his place. Jack Grealish hasn't set the world alight. Raheem Sterling's back into form. It just seems to me that City it's much more competitive for places, lads. And to me, they have the edge, and Liverpool are not far behind them.
I'm still not 100% convinced on City's strikerless formation, though, JD. I know they're still picking up results and they're still doing very well, but to me, every week it seems to be all of the players around that centre forward position are the ones doing the damage and the ones picking up the points, and not necessarily because the centre forward is playing such a Firmino-like role, let's call it, in terms of setting everything up. I just think any player who has played centre forward for City in any game this season hasn't looked very good and hasn't looked comfortable in that position. I understand what you're saying about Chelsea, but is every team going to go through a period of time where they're going to have a little bit of a wobble, where they're going to drop points against teams that they probably shouldn't have? I think they will all have it, and maybe we're just seeing Chelsea's one. I'd like to think that this season might come down to the games between the 3 teams when they actually come against each other. I think, look, they'll all pick up 3 to 4 stupid draws against teams that they feel they should have bet. They may also pick up 1 to 2 defeats against teams that they would see themselves as being superior against. But I would think that could all even itself out. And I really would like to think that the actual winning or losing of a league title could come down to the games between each other.
Well, the Liverpool City game was fantastic, lads, at Anfield. There, I'm just going to text in here because it's breaking news, but Aubameyang left out of the Arsenal squad for disciplinary reasons. This is obviously a battle of strength, and Wills, as one of our texters, is an Arsenal fan for 49 years. I would back the manager on this 100%. Aubameyang is not captained his team at all. Kids are carrying a team with a captain unreported. Well, we know it's 350 grand a week. Arsenal haven't had a captain since 2005 when Patrick Vieira left the club after being reared on McClintock, Rice, Sampson, Adams and Vieira. The attitude since has been disgraceful. It's more than an armband, says Jerry Thompson in Dublin. Dan, a remarkable story. We knew that he was out of form and he was not even in the team against Everton, and Kessie came on ahead of him as well. He's only got 4 goals this season. Remember those 2 seasons we got 22 goals each. Same old Arsenal, really. It was used to be boring Arsenal for their 1-0 wins. It's now same old Arsenal for different reasons, for the lack of backbone in the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean it's an unexpected. Well, I don't know, it's unexpected, the word, but I mean it doesn't seem great. I'm probably just waiting for more details to come out on sort of top of the news that you have there. But I mean, it does feel like it's a sort of a recurring debate. I mean, a couple of weeks back, starting to think maybe they turn some kind of corner to some degree under Arteta, but then they're struck in some kind of crisis mode again, or dealing with certainly an episode again. And I don't know, like it's very hard to get energised by these Arsenal discussions over the last couple of years, because they are just sort of drifting, really, aren't they? There doesn't appear to be any real it always seems to be that sort of 1 step forward and 2 back sometimes. So I don't know if Shane has any particularly strong thoughts on the Arsenal situation at the moment. Having of course stood on the touchline against them last year, should probably be going to Shane for any Arsenal related points. Did he spot any discord or tension there that he thought in a year's time this is really going to blow up?
No. I think the only thing we spotted was the amount of headaches that the likes of Smith Rowe and company were causing. Really, Dan, to be honest with you. No, look, there's absolutely no doubt that there seems to be a lack of backbone about them for quite a while now. There was one of the transfer windows there recently. I think they signed 3 or 4 players, and every single one of the 3 or 4 they signed were captains at their previous clubs. So that was obviously a concerted effort to try and solve the problem, but still don't seem to have done so, really, do they? Look, I know he's quite young and I know he's not there that long, but to me, I just see serious similarities between Kieran Tierney and Seamus Coleman. And to me, I'd give the captain's armband to Kieran Tierney all day long. And and tell him to become very much the leader and stamp out any nonsense that he sees around the place. And look, Aubameyang, to me, I wouldn't
have.
It
has
I
to be
think
it, really,
they
now,
slipped
Shane.
up there. Yeah, they slipped up there really with the new contract. I know he was able to hold them to ransom. Really, he'd had a fantastic season the season before, but he would have always struck me as a fella now who would kind of do as he likes when it suits him, kind of a fella really, rather than somebody you could absolutely rely on when it come down to it.
Well, we'll see what happens in the Southampton game, Johnny. It's funny, I was reading Ralf Hasenhüttl saying that Shane Long just has to be happy with a place in the squad. He's got 16 minutes of football in the Premier League this season. His contract expires next summer. He'll be 35 in January. You wonder how a pro kind of feels when he hears that kind of thing.
Yeah, he's done extremely well out of the game though, JD, as well, and he's at that age now where he's not good enough really to be getting regular game time, and I guess he has to marry the thoughts of the professional career that he's had and also trying to get game time. I wonder where he will end up. He's had a great career, but he has to be cognizant of where he's at the moment, and it's not surprising really that Hasenhüttl would say that.
Will Smallbone, lads, has he got any chance of being in the picture as an Irish senior international in the next few years, do we think? We've kind of known that he's been on the fringes, and every time I suppose you're looking for the Irish flag when you're looking around the Premier League team news, you see them and you see Will Smallbone in there.
I think so, yeah. I mean, Shane would have been at the same the under-21s game recently. We were about at it, was it the Sweden match he would have played, but he's probably still not someone that maybe Irish fans have seen a huge amount of, in the sense of just he had a sort of a long-term injury just when he was breaking through and was becoming of particular interest. And it was interesting watching him for the 21s in that game. He sort of he started out wide and moved in a bit centrally later on, and you can see that there's a player there, definitely, and there seems to be a bit of a debate even around at Southampton in terms of where his best position actually might be. But I mean, to be honest, someone who's in and around the books of the property around the first team squad of a Premier League team is definitely going to be in the Irish discussion. Is definitely probably going to be a senior international. It's very hard to see that not coming to pass. It's just a matter of when that time comes, because he was sort of building a bit of momentum at Southampton and it was lost by a long-term injury. So he's sort of building himself back up again. And from seeing sort of brief bits of him, strangely enough, you could see how he actually might suit the Irish system the way they play at the moment, as sort of maybe one of the two players behind the striker, although he's played a bit sort of deeper at times for Southampton too. So I don't know what Shane thinks, but certainly you can see glimpses of it for the 21s that time, but also someone who was definitely probably not at the fitness level that he would expect to be, and you'd expect him to be at in sort of, if he could get a good sustained run of games under his belt. Yeah,
that was my first proper look at him in the 21s game, and as you said, we were both quite surprised to see him starting out wide in that game. In the second half, when he came in centrally, he was far, far better. His problem, JD, would be the competition for places in that area of the field. I mean, you could go through probably quite a few players who are not even in the squad at the moment who would see that as their preferred position. I would be a very, very big fan of Conor Ronan. I think he's a really, really good player. He impressed me immensely with the 21s, and he's been doing very well for St Mirren. He'll be trying to push his way back in, and then obviously back in the League of Ireland and back where he produced his best before. You would imagine that Jack Byrne could make another drive at it again next season if he rediscovers the form that he had before he went away. So there's quite a queue. As Dana said, Smallbone could play deeper, I suppose, possibly, but I suppose at that age it's maybe hard to see him being kind of thrown in an out and out centre midfield role. You would think a fella like that would be looking to bet himself into the side as a 10, but we've just got quite a lot of options. I mean, we played 6 different number 10s over the course of 3 consecutive qualifying games, and that's not including the likes of your Jack Burns or your Conor Ronans, who would maybe feel they're a little bit, well, certainly I would think Conor Ronan might feel he's a little bit ahead of Will Smallbone in the pecking order, possibly in that position at the moment. He's
obviously had to change kind of as well, just the way we're playing, JD, because he hasn't been able to find that that number 10 that you can totally rely on. But Smallbone's just the way he kind of opened up on his alopecia around the same time as his injury was very impressive. I thought, he's had to deal with a lot for his age, and it'd be great to see him get a regular run of games. I'm like Shane. From watching Conor run the 21s, I thought this guy could be really, really good for Ireland. But Shane, the other thing is as well is he's kind of, like, you haven't mentioned Danny Mandrew there. I don't think he should be a million miles off the sort of the I don't know, the narrative anyway of the season he's had.
100%. Look, he was outstanding this year. You look at the combination of his goals and his assists and how easily Rovers won that title. I mean, you go back to the start of the season, it's so easy to at the end of a season to talk in hindsight. But if you go back to the start of the season and you look at, well, what question marks were there over Shamrock Rovers? I mean, any player, no matter how talented they were how much talent they had, coming into a role where your job was to fill the role that had been previously performed the previous season by Jack Byrne. I mean, that was going to be a massive ask for any player. And he's done it absolutely seamlessly. He was brilliant. He was really, really outstanding. So he was. So yeah, actually, he'd slipped my mind, but he would definitely have to be in around in with a shout at this moment in time as well.
What have been the first impressions on Rangnick, Johnny, from your perspective?
Yeah, I liked his comments on Pogba. I was like, I don't need to convince Pogba about his role at Man United or his future at Man United. He spoke very well. I didn't see the Palace game now. He spoke very well after it about Ronaldo. It's like Dan is on about Arsenal there. I got fed up with talking about Solskjaer, to be honest, because I never did. I really enjoyed it. It was we've gone for something completely different here. A very seasoned manager with a particular way of playing, and I think it's going to be fascinating. I think in order for them to finish in the top four, the battle for fourth is going to be really, really, really tight, I think. He said the right things. The Ronaldo relationship's going to be interesting. What did he say? He said, like, wow or something in relation to his work off the ball against Palace. And I think Man United players probably needed this as well, for some of them, in terms of their own way of playing, in terms of their kind of pressing. Their pressing stats were off the charts against Palace in the final third compared to what they'd been doing. And it's going to be very, very interesting. The Solskjaer thing was inevitably going to end at some stage, and I think all Man United fans should welcome this, and it's going to be a brilliant campaign, I think. We'll probably talk about where the English game is now relative to when you see, I was just saying this during the week, when you see Milan being like turned over by sort of a half-arsed Liverpool team, it's kind of sad to see where football is going in some of these European powerhouses. And conversely, English football is in an incredibly good state at the moment, and Man United will do well to finish fourth, but they have a chance now.
And it's goalless between Liverpool and Aston Villa 20 minutes in at Anfield. Same as well at Chelsea, Leeds goalless, and Arsenal, Southampton goalless. Just letting you know that Leinster have kicked off against Bath. Max Verstappen on pole for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix ahead of Lewis Hamilton tomorrow, who's joining him on the grid as they battle for the world title. I love Rangnick. I love the press conferences already. The 4-2-2-2 formation. It's all clear what he wants. The fullbacks is fascinating that Dalot and Telles were preferred last week and are probably going to get their place in the team now for the game against Norwich tonight. He knows what he wants. He's put it up to Pogba. He said, if you want to leave, fine. Pretty much, to paraphrase what he said. And Danny's got also a psychologist joining them, Sasha Lenza. Have you seen much of this in football? These psychologists, is that the norm? Because it seems that United didn't have one for 20 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, like it's sort of. It's sort of been well documented. I mean, it's been massive, obviously, in the last number of years in football and in a variety of places. And I suppose I'm trying to look closer to home. Like you see, sort of. Different titles and frames put it, like you've got David Ford, I suppose, in with the Ireland squad helping them out with certain things, and even Philly McMahon at Bowes as sort of performance coach, and listen, it's everywhere in all codes. So I mean, it is sort of I think Manchester United previously they had sort of services available at times, but it does seem like a club that it was ran in a very old school way for a long period of time, and that sort of went from, because you had that sort of management figure there, and even in terms of all wings of the operation, be it scouting or whatever it might be, it was run along sort of just a sporting model that wouldn't be that common these days. I don't know. I mean, it's you speak to players at various times, and like some get a huge amount of benefit from it. Some will say that they don't, or some will say they don't need it. But it would be unusual for a modern sort of sporting organisation not to have some kind of services like that available. I think like broadly, there's such an interest in a new manager coming in that everything they do seems sort of new and exciting, and they have that sort of honeymoon period where something like this sounds like a sort of a big deal when it's really what you would expect to be there already. And like, isn't it sort of, you see Steven Gerrard sort of talking today, or Steven Gerrard in the spotlight today, go back to Anfield, and of course at various times, like you had Liverpool, you had Steve Peters, and these really influential figures who had a real role in the lives of footballers. So I mean, it's not surprising that it's there. And in some respects, it's surprising it's maybe taken Manchester United so long to fully embrace some of the services that are available elsewhere.
Fergie had a guy for a couple of years,
people
didn't
and
he?
stuff as well.
Fergie had a guy for a couple of years.
Bill Bezic,
Yeah, Bill Bezic. That was the name I was thinking of. Yeah.
You got Chris Armisen as well from the United States. Kevin Globam was speaking about him on AM if you want to check it out, folks. He didn't have the best of times at Toronto. Got a big text in here from Cormac in Dublin, 53106. Hi lads, looking forward to the show today. In relation to Ralf Rangnick's tenure so far, I have to say I'm very impressed. Clear that he's going to adopt a direct approach. Fringe players like Martial, Lingard, Mata, most likely the first victims, for want of a better word. There's probably extend to Pogba also, but that will depend on the player's decision, I would presume, rather than Rangnick wanting him gone. Lingard and Pogba, both classed as homegrown players, who he was always worried about letting them go without any noticeable replacements in the pipeline. But now it looks like Rashford, Greenwood, Elanga, McTominay, Henderson, and potentially Twanzebe, Mengi, Charlie McNeil and Alvaro Fernandez from the youth squad reserves may be part of a successful future Man United squad. Any thoughts on the above, or am I getting carried away? That's from Cormac in Dublin. Shane, Keegan, what do you think?
So yeah, I suppose interestingly on the sports psychology side of things first, Jetty, because it is an area that interests me greatly. So when I was at Wexford, we would have used a guy sporadically, kind of for workshops and stuff, rather than him being a consistent member of the coaching team. A guy called Canis Kennedy down in Cork, who was very, very good in the bits and bobs that he did with us. Then I suppose I was amazed about United. I was absolutely amazed that United hadn't somebody involved probably since Bill Beswick, because if money is no object, obviously as is the case at a club as big as United, then I just do not understand the reasoning behind it. I mean, Dan briefly touched on kind of the Irish scene there. And I suppose what I'd say on that is, I mean, if you look into GEA, it's, any inter-county team worth their salt has somebody involved, and the good ones are massively heralded. The likes of Caroline Currid and that at the moment are huge names within a setup, so they are. The difference with the League of Ireland is cost. You look at an inter-county GAA setup, the players don't have to be paid. Therefore, if you've got whatever €100,000 to work with for the year, well then let's go out and get a really good sports psychologist and use some of that money towards it. I went in at Galway, and one of the first people I met, I'm sure you know him, Jeddy, is Kieran Shannon. I met with Kieran. Kieran went off and did a master's in sports psychology and had worked in the area. And I went off and met Kieran. We must have been together for about 2 hours, talking about, the role and what I'd want from it at Galway United if he was to come in with us and the whole lot. And my full intention was to bring him in. And the next thing, you start assembling your squad, and you have to give this lad a few pound more than you thought you'd have to, and the training facility is going to cost a few pound more. And
I finally now know why we got relegated, Shane. It's finally come out why we got relegated. We didn't have a sports psychologist.
Would you not do it, Johnny? No.
I often think back to it.
Johnny Ward should have been the sports psychologist.
I would have done it for nothing. Probably would have had to actually pay you, but go on anyway.
No, I do kick myself over that. I do think he would have been a really great person. And often, lads, it's as much for the management to chat with somebody like this and help them with where their head is at, as it is for the players. But I just think it's a no-brainer to try and get something like that involved,
What do you make of it, Jiddy?
Sports psychologist? As long as it doesn't go over the top, I think it's a good idea. I think with all these things, as Ralf Rangnick pointed out, you got somebody for fitness, you got somebody for tactics in every single position. I was reading today about the way Michael Beale breaks down the units when they're coaching at Rangers now, Aston Villa, defenders, attackers. I think it was in the Mail. Source, the head, there's just another part of it. But when it becomes counterproductive, when you see a head guru in there for a few years and then it's not actually having a positive impact, that's when you then question it. We got a goal in the Arsenal-Southampton game, and Mike Lawrence has the details.
Arsenal 1, Southampton 0, the deadlock broken in style. Bukayo Saka set it up and Alexander Lacazette was there to finish off. A great run down the right-hand side by Saka, found Lacazette with his cross. He fired home past Willy Caballero in the goal, and Arsenal are ahead here. Arsenal 1, Southampton 0.
And no, Aubameyang out of the team today in the squad for disciplinary reasons. I just can't get my head around that. The 350 grand a week guy, and he's the captain of the club, and he's not even in the squad, and it's got to be over now for Aubameyang. You're watching the Liverpool Villa game here, Johnny.
Yeah, you've been a little bit harsh on Arsenal. Like, they lost their first 3 games, and since then, like, they play some lovely football. Arteta's working on something there.
They were dreadful against Everton.
They were dreadful against Everton. They were, and they basically threw that away. But it's still early days. Win today, and they're bang there for 4th place. This is a really interesting game. I love the narrative. Last week we had Gerrard taking on Rodgers. This week, you've had all this stuff from Klopp and Stephen Gerrard in the paper. Carragher in the paper today about Gerrard, and almost as if it's a fait accompli that he'll get the Liverpool job. But this has been a really, really good first half an hour. No kind of lack of hope and confidence from Villa. They've been pushing forward. They are playing a little bit on the break. McGinn has a corner now. Liverpool are defending. They're probably conscious of the fact that Liverpool defensively aren't quite as solid as they have been. Robertson went down the boxer looking for a penalty, didn't get it. It's corner for Villa now, and it's just fascinating to see Gerrard back in the dugout at Anfield, or in the dugout at Anfield. And this isn't going to be a formality, I think, for Liverpool the way the first half an hour has gone.
Stevie G down back at Anfield, and I suppose it's rare, isn't it, that you have a one club man in the game, and that's why he'll always be revered, that he didn't leave, and he could have won league titles elsewhere, but he didn't go, you know.
Yeah, no, this is it. I mean, I was trying to think earlier when didn't Roy Keane go back to Old Trafford with Sunderland, I think. I know he obviously wasn't a one club man, but otherwise, like, big comparisons in terms of this figure that you sort of assume once they go into management, like, they'll be going back there one day, maybe with a view to the longer term. And of course, there wasn't a lot of focus on a handshake around that time with Ferguson and stuff, and it was a different vibe. Whereas this time around, it's more, Klopp, as Johnny alluded to yesterday, is getting on board with the sort of ceremony of the event. Getting on board with, yes, he'll manage Liverpool one day with absolute conviction and certainty, and almost very happy to sort of to get on board with the sort of narrative around the fixture, and it's what you expect. I mean, I understand that, and I know Johnny might have an opinion on this, that, like, in some respects, a lot of what Klopp is saying is just, like, it's just playing to the gallery stuff to some degree. It's like, oh, of course he's going to manage Liverpool one day. It's not going to be Klopp's problem, really, because I don't think he's going to be in a situation where Gerrard's looking over his shoulder. I mean, Klopp will be the master of his own destiny at Liverpool. He'll leave whenever he's done, whenever he's ready, and then it's very possible Gerrard will come into the fray at that stage. And I think the way Gerrard has played his managerial career is pretty sensible thus far. Like, Rangers was a challenging enough project to take on, even though of course he was going straight to a league where he was going to be instantly very competitive. He did well there in terms of even some of their European performances, where take some of the domestic stuff out of it. Some of the European performances were decent, and going to Villa is a sort of a sensible progression, I think, in terms of his career, and it'll be interesting to sort of see, like, does his coaching evolve when all of a sudden he's at a team where you're playing, maybe, at Rangers you're expected to win almost every week, whereas at Villa you have to at times face these games like this one where you're clearly a very sort of strong underdog, and again, it's always a great honeymoon period and everything seems great, but he's made a solid start, and I think he's entitled to be spoken about as a future Liverpool manager. I don't have much issue with it. Yeah, there's an element of 2 + 2 about it. It's a bit predictable, but there is something to be said for all the bad experiences of maybe Lampard going too early and the sort of sentimental stuff around Solskjaer. There is something about understanding the fabric and the understanding a club and the scale and the size of it. Just once it doesn't get over the top and overly sentimental, and it's sort of used to paper over your shortcomings. I can see why it would be a natural progression for him in a couple of years' time.
This is a great game. This is a great game. Alisson slipped there coming out for a ball. It's really, really wet. Proper December weather. Nearly got done for it, JD. And Liverpool have now around the counter, but it's really lively stuff.
Yeah, so Jota out of the team today with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in. So Gerrard is playing a 4-3-3. He's playing the similar style to Liverpool in terms of the formation. And he's a delegator. From everything I've seen about Gerrard, he's a delegator. He gets good people around him. Obviously, he's played very much at the top level. But Villa are a club that have money. They've got billionaires behind them. So they're not the Villa that you'd be thinking are 16th or 17th, and his job is to get them to 10th. His job is to get them in the top 6.
I don't think he'll be judged on the Rangers stuff, JD, and that's why the Klopp, he will be the Liverpool manager, I think, is kind of nonsense, because this Villa thing could go very badly wrong. It's very, very early days. Great article about him by Keith Duggan in the Irish Times today about his self-deprecating wit even when he was flying at Liverpool, and it got me thinking of this one club player thing, because may I put it to you, Dan McDonnell, and I know you were a avid Dundalk fan as a kid. Would it have been your aspiration, because we'll talk about Steve O'Donnell, I'm just going to play for Dundalk, I'll be good enough to play for Dundalk and I'll never play for anyone else?
That's quite the tangent, Johnny, to be fair. JD's not sure about this tangent at all, I think, as a concept.
I usually give enough tangents on the show myself.
The one club player, it's such a glorious thing that he's from the town, plays for Liverpool, plays basically, I think Carragher called him the best player they've ever had, maybe say, which is questionable as well.
He still entertained going somewhere else, didn't he? I mean, he didn't.
Chelsea, he was going to go to Chelsea.
I'm not going to have the discussions. I think, it can always be a great thing when you don't leave, but I think there's an element of a hardened professional that has to be in there too, and
Dan wanted to play for Dundalk. That was his aspiration. I've known him for a long time, and he would have been a one club player. And
they had great kits. Johnny,
I think you first met me when I was 16. At which stage I think any such opportunities would probably have long since passed. So
and
you're engaging in idle speculation.
Well,
there, to be honest.
being a top football journalist is not a bad second option. 53106. How is Gerrard a one club man when he played for LA Galaxy, or is it mitigated because it's the MLS? As one of our texters. Can I just push back on what Johnny said there about AC Milan, the ascendancy of English football? It's lazy to come on to too many conclusions. AC Milan had 8 injured players. If English football is so strong, why do they consistently do so badly? In the Europa League, Leicester, for example.
That's not. I mean, the Europa League is not where it's at. It's obviously a money situation. You have the money is basically in the
Tomori is an example. Why is Tomori not playing for Chelsea? He's playing for AC Milan. So there's the example. And also 2005. Liverpool were the underdogs. 2007, Milan beat them in the Champions League final. English football has obviously ascended to the last 2 Champions League finalists were Chelsea and Manchester City.
Yeah, it's a money thing, JD. Obviously, you have the PSG thing, but you have just 2 of the big clubs in England have massive state money behind them in effect, and obviously Abramovich as well. But it's just the interest in the Premier League globally versus other leagues, and the problems that Barca have at the moment it's fascinating what Xavi has to do there. But at the moment you're looking at English football in terms of the depth, because Man United are only going to get stronger now. I was a bit saddened by the Milan game the other night, to be honest. It was this great club. I had a couple of mates who were over there, loved the San Siro, but Milan compared to where they were, I mean, you've Zlatan there at 40 odd, trying to beat a kind of a half-arsed Liverpool team who basically dominated the game. It was quite sad to see when you think of the days of Maldini and so on.
I was saying about Chelsea struggling a bit, and they're 1-0 down to Leeds. Rafinha with the goal. You've got to hand it to Rafinha. He's been really probably the key Leeds player this season so far. And we've got another goal at the Emirates Stadium. This is Arsenal against Southampton. Reporting on this one is Mike Lawrence.
Arsenal 2, Southampton 0. It's Odegaard doubling Arsenal's lead. Head tennis in the Southampton box. Tierney's header found the head of Odegaard, who fired past Willy Caballero, who's not having a good day on his debut in the Arsenal goal. Earlier on, it was Bukayo Saka who found Lacazette, who volleyed home the first goal. But Arsenal 2-0 up here and cruising. Arsenal 2, Southampton 0.
It is Leinster 17, Bath 6. That is in the rugby in the Champions Cup opener at the Aviva Stadium. That match started at 3:15. Max Verstappen's on pole for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix tomorrow, ahead of Lewis Hamilton, his championship rival. They are level on points. And just let you know as well, scores from the championship. It is Huddersfield 1, Coventry 1, a result. Latest scores: Birmingham 1, Cardiff 0, Bournemouth 0, Blackburn 1. It is Derby 0, Blackpool 0. It is Hull 1, Bristol City 0. Luton and Fulham, it's a 1-0 lead for Fulham in that one. Peterborough 0, Millwall 1 is the latest. It is Preston 0, Barnsley 0. Also goals in all the other games: Stoke and Middlesbrough, Swansea and Nottingham Forest, and West Brom and Reading. And in Scotland, it is at the moment. Dundee United 0, Livingston 0, Ross County 1, Dundee 1, St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 0 and St Mirren 0, Hibernian 0. Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk with football is back after this.
Off the Ball on News Talk. The Pat Kenny Show.
You've selected a clip from The Office. Tell me more.
It's really just a perfect Christmas special because it was very festive, but it also completed one of the greatest television shows ever made. As I mentioned, he's going on a lot of blind dates in it.
Ridiculous.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With Matter Private Network.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on News Talk.
Dundeel has the largest range of premium cars in Ireland, from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Frank Keane Volkswagen on Dundeel. Stop by Frank Keane Volkswagen's online showroom on Dundeel today and connect with them for great deals. Dundeel, for premium car deals to feel great about, from Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
This Christmas, transform your entertainment experience with a Samsung Neo QLED TV. Breathtaking brightness, extreme blacks and exquisite picture detail. Samsung Neo QLED TVs set a new benchmark in TV technology. Shop the Samsung range online at powercity.ie.
'Twas time to enjoy the festive mood. The table was set with glorious Aldi food. Like Nicholas de Montbard champagne was $24.99, now $16.99. And from the 10th of December, specially selected mini beef Wellingtons, just $3.99. Chicken and mushroom mini vol au vents, just $2.99. And flavoured cocktail sausage rolls, just $1.89. Aldi. Make Christmas amazing for everyone. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
This Christmas, surprise the one you love with a gift voucher for Lyrath Estate Kilkenny. Make dreams come true by choosing from luxury breaks, relaxing spa treatments, delightful afternoon tea or scrumptious dinners. Or let them choose for themselves with a Lyrath Estate monetary voucher. There's something special for everyone. This year, give the gift of precious moments that make special memories. Unwrap the magic this Christmas. Unwrap the gift of luxury. Visit lyrath.com.
This Christmas, give them a skill for life with driving lessons from the Irish School of Motoring. Buy gift vouchers online at ism.ie or call 0818 888 111.
InsureMyCars.ie. Don't cut corners on your car insurance. Get a better quote at InsureMyCars.ie, Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. We search the market to get you the best cover at the lowest prices.
InsureMyCars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
You can now apply for, renew and update your learner permit or driving licence online at ndls.ie. It's quick and simple to apply online. No paper, no forms, no fuss. And you can apply up to 3 months before your licence expires. Your learner permit or driving licence is now just a click away. All you need is a verified MyGov ID to securely apply at ndls.ie. A message from the National Driver Licence Service and the Road Safety Authority.
This Christmas, make a list.
Premier League World Darts Championship.
Heineken Champions Cup. Check everything twice.
VAR have a really close look at this.
Find out who's naughty.
It is absolute mayhem.
And who's nice.
He has been incredible.
Enjoy live action from the Premier League, the Heineken Champions Cup and the William Hill World Darts Championship with Now Sports and Sports Extra memberships from €10. Stream a spectacular season of sport with Now. 18 plus, content stream via internet, terms apply.
Some days the couch just calls to us.
Take a seat. Grab the remote. My cushions are extra cozy today.
And while we all want to get off the couch to set a healthier routine, not knowing how to start can feel overwhelming. Healthy Ireland is a trusted source for easy-to-follow tips and advice, like getting a friend involved with your healthy habits so they'll be able to motivate you on those tougher days. Search Healthy Ireland and get set for life this winter. From Healthy Ireland, a Government of Ireland initiative supporting health and well-being for everyone and helping us off our couches.
We all want to stay safe this festive season, whether we're out and about or meeting family and friends. FlowFlex rapid antigen tests provide that peace of mind. EU certified and 98.8% accurate, FlowFlex kits are easy to use and great value, with results in under 15 minutes. Available in pharmacies nationwide or buy online at flowflex.ie.
From Mallinhead to Hookhead and all points in between, Ireland's makers have been creating beautiful gifts that will show everyone you love that you care. To discover Irish craft gifts near you, visit madelocal.ie. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland.
Discover the Whirlpool Fresh Care laundry range at Power City. The perfect match washing machines and dryers will keep your clothes fresh for up to 6 hours after the programme is finished. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Spirit Volvo is your one-stop destination for hybrid and electric cars for 221. The brand new Volvo XC40 Recharge, Volvo's first ever fully electric vehicle, has arrived in Sandyford. Stylish, practical, safe and fully electric with an electric drive range of 400 kilometres. Plus, Volvo's XC60 and XC90 plug-in hybrid SUVs have just got even better. Now with extended hybrid drive ranges, you can do more in electric mode. Book your test drive and place your order for the new year today. spiritvolvo.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Norwich versus Man United on Saturday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Watch Arsenal against Leicester in the Women's Super League this Sunday, live only on Sky Sports. Joined by the UEFA Pro Licence coach Shane Keegan, the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward, and the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell. To speak about the beautiful game, you can text us 53106, listen on News Talk, watch us on the digital and social channels for Off the Ball, for Periscope and Twitter, at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. Just sports news wise, Leinster 19, Bath 6 at the moment in the rugby. And tries from Jameson Gibson Park, Tyg Furlong and James Lowe, the three Irish internationals, one away now from the bonus points. So great start for Leinster to the Champions Cup. Some results from Cheltenham in the big race meeting today there. The Racing Post Gold Cup went to Cool Cody at 12-1. The Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle won by, Blazing Cal, the even money favourite, and then Guard Your Dreams took the international hurdle at a price of 5-1. Padraig Pearses have done it, 1-8-1-7 against Man Bellew Moylock in that AIB Connacht Football Club semi-final. And we got some text in here on 53106 as well. The John Duggan update. Didn't need you to give an update on Arsenal. Heard John Duggan groan when it went in. Mike not lowered enough, John, says Kevin. Kevin, I have no biases when it comes to OTB Football Saturday whatsoever. So I'm delighted that Arsenal have got over their Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang crisis and are now leading Southampton by 2-0.
I think that's a terrible thing to accuse you of, JD.
Well, been accused of worse on this show, I'm sure, before. We have Martin Odegaard and Lacazette with the goals. And Chelsea have equalised 1-1 now against Leeds. That is in the Premier League. Mason Mount just before half-time. Chelsea 1, Leeds 1. You're watching Liverpool and Villa, Johnny.
Salah's just had a shot saved the near post. Villa, it is a bit all hands on deck for them the last 10 minutes, but they just want to get into half-time. Konsa's gone down injured. Great strike by Salah as well. Martinez saving at the near post with his left hand. And it's just a proper wet, windy day, and it's a big one for Liverpool. Obviously, Man City were somewhat laboured in actually beating 10-man Wolves earlier on. Jimenez, I thought I'd give him a 10-week ban if I were his manager for the stupidity of his yellow card in a game like that. But this is a big one for Liverpool because they probably can't let games like this slip away. It's a game they probably need to win.
53106. Hi John, yourself and Shane Keegan as Spurs fans be happy for them to forfeit the round game and drop out of the Conference League and maybe be a nice 40th birthday present for Shane, writes Adrian and Leash. Is it the big one this year or is it a big one recently for you, Shane Keegan?
Big one yesterday, JD.
Congratulations.
Big one yesterday. Indeed it was. We went across the White Hart Lane last weekend as my family 40th birthday present. All right, yeah.
Well, congratulations, Shane. A big moment in your life. And look, Spurs won the game. So
does life begin at 40, Shane, or?
I'll tell you, give me another while and I'll let you know. I'm only a day into it, Johnny. I need a little bit more time to summarise how it's going. But yeah, it was cute enough last week, JD. I brought Connor with me. It was 5 or 6 games I'd been to see Spurs play before I eventually saw them win. So we were quite tactful in making sure his first game would be a home game against Norwich in the hope that it might be one that we'd pick up a handy enough win in. And scoreline suggests it was a handy enough win. We're actually very, very lucky. Norwich missed 3 absolute sitters in the game, to be honest with you, so they did. But look, all's well that ends well.
What a stadium it is, isn't it? Amazing stadium, Shane.
Absolutely unbelievable. It really, really is. Look, I know plenty of people will laugh at this, but myself and a couple of my friends actually, we went across to watch the Champions League final. We couldn't get tickets for the Champions League final, so we took the next best option and we went across there to watch the Champions League final. So we did. But look, to have a 6-year-old with you and bring him in and his eyes just absolutely bulging at the size of the place, it's an incredible stadium, that's for sure. Yeah.
Sure. Look, that's what it's all about. A young lad, you'll never forget that. Never forget your first game. remember your first game, Johnny? Did you ever go to Anfield when you were young?
No. My first game would have been probably a professional football. I remember watching Galway United against Cove Ramblers, about 350 people at the game. It was actually a night quite similar to the weather at Anfield today. Galway United won 1-0. Brian Irwin got the goal. I think it was his only goal ever for Galway United. The goalkeeper for Galway United was since incarcerated, actually, which is quite an interesting story as well. And I kept the match programme for years and years and years, and I've literally never looked back. I absolutely loved it. And it was I don't know, lads, was it like that for you? Like, floodlit football for me was just something completely different. I was like, this is really, really cool. And it was a bad first division game, but for some reason, I don't know, Dan, do you remember your first Dundalk game? Or I just fell in love with it anyway.
Or first Ireland game even.
Yeah.
I think Brian Irwin scored in the first Dundalk game I went to as well.
There we go.
He scored twice, but I was trying to think even when I was. I think that would have been sort of one of my first games. I didn't really go to like the Ireland games until I was a bit older. I sort of remember the TV being wheeled into the classroom to watch the Wednesday afternoon qualifiers.
Literally wheeled in, like.
Yeah, because they would have been during school time in those days. It was probably because there was no floodlights in Lansdowne.
That's right. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I don't know what the reason was, but it was like Wednesday afternoon qualifiers. So actually I wouldn't have travelled up the games. I sort of a couple of pre-season friendlies where big teams come over that I vaguely recall being at, but not with a clear recollection. But they can be sort of life-defining experiences for people. All right, like that first game goes good or it's bad.
Yeah, I do feel obliged to clarify at this stage that this was Connor's first ever Spurs match. He was, of course, at 9 months old in Prairie Carrick Park to watch us win the League of Ireland First Division. So I'm getting blown out of water here by League of Ireland stories, not to neglect it, you know.
What about you, JD?
First game at Spurs was in 1988 against Portsmouth as a 9-year-old. And
who was playing?
Barry Horn scored the winner for Portsmouth, lost 1-0.
Yeah,
so not many Spurs players of great repute were playing at that stage. I think Waddle was playing, but I didn't see Gascoigne until 2 years later when he joined that summer, and I saw him play just before the World Cup in 1990, and that was incredible. Gascoigne and Lineker at Spurs.
Like, can you imagine? So you were brought over to watch Spurs at, what'd you say, 8 years of age?
9 years of age.
That's
yeah.
Mad.
The Young Flyers Club in Aer Lingus. The flights were expensive, and it was just like England. Like, was this amazing? Because Ireland in the 80s wasn't the nicest place to live in at times. It really felt really advanced. And it was an amazing experience.
Wow.
And my first Ireland game was the Finland game in 1990, Liam Brady's testimonial, just before the World Cup. So it's, and all these memories, you'll never forget them. You just never forget your first game. And folks out there, listeners out there, 53106, were you at maybe an unusual game for your first game? First time you got over to Man United or Liverpool, first League of Ireland game you went to, first Ireland game you went to, first Ireland trip you were on? Love to get in touch with some stories here on 53106.
It's lovely to see, like, when you go to the games in for, say, 20, 25 years, it's lovely to see people that maybe you saw when they were younger that bring their kids along, and that process just continues, and the cycle just, the ball keeps turning, and you see them grow up then and become adults themselves and bring their own kids along. It's just lovely to see, because it's a special place in your life.
Well, Gaelic games as well. My first Gaelic hurling match was Clare Galway 1987 league final. These things are just wired into your brain. They don't leave you. And then it's like almost then, for me, when I was a sports fan, there's almost a light bulb moment when you're about 7 or 8 that everything is now, you remember everything. You don't remember anything before that moment, but then that moment happens and then you just remember everything and you know everything about everything. So when in 1987 or 1988, I would have known every single thing about every single sport. And then, you grow up, you have your teenage years, you discover other things in your life. And then in your college years, you discover even more things.
Hopefully, anyway.
But then you don't have that. So like Formula 1, for example, lads, tomorrow, I'm an absolute bandwagoner. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I was wondering why they weren't refueling last week in Saudi Arabia, and they took that out 10 years ago. So it's like you're watching Prost and Piquet and Mansell and Senna and Hill and Schumacher, and then you're just like jumping on the bandwagon here.
My youngest sporting memory is, and now I hope I've the year right, 1987, Galway were playing Cork in Croke Park, and Galway were massive underdogs, and Larry Tompkins got an equaliser from a long, long way out to force a replay, and the replay wasn't on TV in those days. And this is possibly one of my earliest recollections in life. I remember crying at the door as my brother my son, my brother, my father, and I think the neighbour departed as they got into the car to drive up to Dublin, and they wouldn't bring me to the game. And it's interesting, JD, because Galway lost by 18 points to 1-4 in the replay.
Psychoanalysis, lads, on OTB Football Saturday.
I was left at the door, JD.
Well, I'm sure all is forgiven.
And today,
it is amazing. It is amazing, guys, the way it sucks you in. As I say, like, Conor is only 6, and like any match we've ever gone to, a hurling match or soccer match, sure, he only sits beside me for the first 5 minutes, and then he's down the front of the stadium kicking a ball or poking a ball with his mates or that. And going over, I was positive that 15, 20 minutes into this game, he was going to be bored out of his head and was going to be looking to go back to the hotel. And yet, with 5 minutes to go, we're trying to persuade him nearly, will we try and sneak out early here to avoid the crowds? And on no way on God's green earth was this going to be allowed. I think we were near enough the last people leaving the stadium, but he was literally glued to the game for the entirety of it. I really didn't think at 6 that you'd get that sucked into it,
I love these organic conversations because the audience then really gets into it, and we're already getting a huge response. 20th of October 1984, United 1, Spurs 0. Mark Hughes with the goal. I have that same memory as in Fever Pitch when you walk up the steps and you can see the top of the far stand. Then you see the pitch. Is amazing, says Barry in Tremor. Celtic Park, age 14. Celtic against Rangers under floodlights, atmosphere unreal. 1-1 draw. The roar, says David. And my first game was in the Reebok Stadium. We travelled over for a first year school tour with Garbley College to see Chelsea win the Premier League against Bolton. Savage experience, says Shane in Ballinasloe. We've got to take a break. Back with Johnny, Dan and Shane Keegan after the news on 53106. You can text us on Football Saturday here. Half times in the Premier League: Arsenal 2, Southampton 0. Lacazette and Odegaard for the Gunners. Chelsea 1, Leeds 1. Mount equalising after Rafinha put Leeds in front at Stamford Bridge. And Liverpool 0, Aston Villa 0. Earlier on, Manchester City 1, Wolves 0 with the Raheem Sterling penalty in the second half after Raul Jimenez was sent off for Wolves. Don't go away, and OTB Football Saturday is back after the news. Want to have your company between 4 and 5.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Arsenal versus Leicester in the Women's Super League this Sunday, live only on Sky Sports. This weekend on News Talk, to celebrate the launch of late-night Christmas shopping at the Crescent Shopping Centre, Limerick, we've got a €500 voucher to give away. To enter, visit newstalk.com/shop. Happy Christmas.
At Centra, we have everything you need for Christmas, like selected Nestlé pouches, multi-packs and sharing bags, and you 3 for €3. Centra Fresh Irish Ham Fillets 1.8 to 2 kilo, €8 each. And until Sunday, our Christmas cracker offer is Santa Rita 120 range, €7 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, go sensibly.
1-800-714-080. That's the number for the Cry helpline, providing a caring, listening ear and support to families and friends who've been affected by the loss of a loved one through sudden cardiac death. The Cry helpline, 1-800-714-080. For more information, please go to cry.ie.
With the Toyota Yaris, we wanted to create a car that was even more exciting, even more energetic, even more electric, without ever needing to be plugged in. Challenge accepted. The self-charging hybrid electric Toyota Yaris, voted Car of the Year 2021. Ask your dealer about flexible payment options today. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz. On account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
Now at Power City, get free delivery and free recycling on selected Whirlpool condenser and heat pump dryers. For more information, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
In these changed, uncertain times, helping your employees stay engaged and motivated is important. At Workit, we can help. Our platform keeps everyone connected with easy-to-use online tools. Workit lets employees access thousands of online courses, manage their health and well-being, and provides you with the tools to recognise and reward their achievements. We're all in this together. Search WORKIT to find out more. Workit. Make good workplaces great.
a Christmas gift card for the 5-star Powers Court Hotel. You watch their eyes light up with excitement. So many possibilities. A luxury overnight stay, or a pampering spa treatment. Maybe afternoon tea, or an unforgettable dining experience. Give the gift of choice this Christmas with a gift card from powerscourthotel.com.
Can't believe it's finally here.
So exciting. Wakey, wakey, kids!
Happy St. Stephen's Day!
What time is it?
6 a.m.
But we've been up since 5!
Can't wait for the fun to begin. Get to the Leopardstown Christmas Festival from December 26th to 29th. With 4 days of world-class racing and entertainment, your holidays start here. Book your tickets today at leopardstown.com.
The stage is set for all the drama of the Champions Cup.
The sparkly showpiece of the club rugby season.
Watch every match live on BT Sport this season when you get Sky Sports and Sports Extra, now half price for 6 months. The players are ready.
Ring rolls!
Are you? Get Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports half price for 6 months with Sky. Search Sky Sports Sale to join or upgrade now. New Sports customers only. Standard pricing applies after 6 months.
Some
Further
days
terms
the
apply.
couch just calls to us.
Take a seat. Grab the remote. My cushions are extra cozy today.
And while we all want to get off the couch to set a healthier routine, not knowing how to start can feel overwhelming. Healthy Ireland is a trusted source for easy-to-follow tips and advice, like getting a friend involved with your healthy habits so they'll be able to motivate you on those tougher days. Search Healthy Ireland and get set for life this winter. From Healthy Ireland, a Government of Ireland initiative supporting health and well-being for everyone and helping us off our couches.
This Christmas, let them choose. Choose from the best in Irish-owned or sustainable brands. Choose from luxury fashion, the ultimate in beauty, or world-class homeware design. Choose from an in-store experience or shopping online. Brown Thomas and Arnott's gift cards are now accepted in both stores and won't expire. So purchase a Brown Thomas or Arnott's gift card this Christmas and let them choose.
Malloy's, winners of the National Off Licence of the Year. Now delivering all your corporate gifts and wines nationwide. Shop in store or online at malloys.ie. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
It robs you of the simple joys of life.
It drains your motivation to the point where you can't get out of bed.
It's seeing darkness where there should be light.
Depression is a serious condition that affects individuals and families across Ireland. No one should go through it alone. Every day, Aware provides vital support to people impacted by depression and bipolar disorder. We can't do this without your help. Make a real difference this Christmas by donating today at aware.ie.
Hate missing out? News Talk Extra is news, entertainment and all the latest podcasts, plus expert tips and competitions straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra. On 106 to 108 FM, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Bernadette Jamison. The Department of Health has confirmed 4,004 new cases of COVID-19 this afternoon. 481 people are being treated in hospital for the virus, down 30 on yesterday. Jonathan Byrne reports.
The number of patients being treated in the country's hospitals for COVID-19 is the lowest since the November 22nd peak of 685. In a tweet today, HSE boss Paul Reid urged people to take up a booster shot when it's offered in order to ease pressure on hospitals, which he said will be under real pressure this month and next. Walk-in booster clinics are open across the country today, with many reporting wait times of over an hour. Many clinics will also be open tomorrow. Live information is available from the HSE's Twitter account.
€250,000 handed back to tenants by landlords who illegally raised rents is only the tip of the iceberg. That's according to housing charity Threshold, which says 28 cases prosecuted by the Residential Tenancies Board don't show the true scale of the problem. For the first time, landlords have been named and shamed by the rental regulator. Labour Senator Rebecca Moynihan, the party's housing spokesperson, hopes that policy continues.
I think it is a good idea because I think that people don't want to be named as being a bad landlord, and even things like minimum standards. I think it's important for the RTB to be investigating. Like we've seen primetime documentaries where you've had 12 people living in very, very small rooms, and those landlords give all landlords a bad name when it comes to it. So I do think that that's a progressive measure for them to begin adapting.
People considering buying a puppy for Christmas have been warned to only buy from registered breeders or to adopt from a rescue centre. The warning came from the DSPCA and it's been issued amid fears that rogue breeders are selling young dogs online with no traceability. The DSPCA's Gillian Bird says buying puppies online is extremely risky.
You don't know, has it been mass produced on a registered dog breeding establishment that could have 150 breeding bitches? You've no idea, has it been bred in appalling conditions in somebody's back garden? You've no guarantee that the parents of that dog are healthy, that they don't have any issues that could lead to the dog having heart conditions or bad arthritis when it gets older.
It's 4:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. This Christmas, give the gift of travel with a Ryanair gift card.
Mild and mostly dry at first, but patchy rain and drizzle in the south will extend over much of the country tonight. Light to moderate southwest winds and lowest temperatures 4 to 8 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Remember, football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Watch Norwich against Man United on Saturday Night Football live only on Sky Sports. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation. Listen on News Talk. Watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. If you have not downloaded our great app already, please do so by searching OTB Sports in your app store. Great guest as always this afternoon, Shane Keegan, the UEFA Pro Licensed Coach, Irish Independent football correspondent Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. Back at half times now from the Premier League. Liverpool against Aston Villa at Anfield. Is Shane Pennington.
It's Liverpool 0, Aston Villa 0, and so far so good then for Steven Gerrard on his return to Merseyside. His side have been very compact and restricted Liverpool to half chances really, although the hosts have dominated possession. They've had the chances really in the first half. Andy Robertson and also Mo Salah have been denied by Emi Martinez in the Villa goal, whilst Joel Matip's come the closest with a header that hit the top of the crossbar from Andy Robertson's cross. At the other end, Villa haven't really offered too much of a threat going forward. Just a marvellous Nakamba shot from long range, well over the top of the crossbar. It's Liverpool 0, Aston Villa 0.
Now we've got a half-time from the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal against Southampton, and with the details is Mike Lawrence.
Arsenal 2, Southampton 0. 2 goals in 6 minutes have put the home side in the driving seat after Southampton had started brightly. Alexander Lacazette's stunning volley from Bukayo Saka's cross broke the deadlock for just his second league goal of the season. And then as Southampton failed to deal with a spell of Arsenal pressure, Kieran Tierney found Martin Odegaard, who headed home from close range past debutant Saints keeper Willie Caballero. Adam Armstrong back in the Saints side for the injured Che Adams, tested the Arsenal keeper Aaron Ramsdale early on, as did Nathan Tella and James Ward-Prowse. But at half-time, it's Arsenal 2, Southampton 0.
And a half-time from Chelsea against Leeds at Stamford Bridge is Ian Beach.
Chelsea 1, Leeds 1 at half-time. Rafinha gave Leeds the lead to a penalty after a foul by Marcus Alonso on Dan James. That was checked by VAR, but the referee's decision to give a penalty was upheld there, and Rafinha wrong-footed goalkeeper Edouard Mendy, but the equaliser was scored by Mason Mount just before half-time. Chelsea winning the ball high up the field. Alonso passing square to Mount, and he passed the ball into the net. Chelsea 1, Leeds 1.
And we've Norwich kicking off against Man United at half-5. We'll have the teams from that game at half-4. Huddersfield 1, Coventry 1 is a full-time from the Championship. Latest scores: Birmingham City 2, Cardiff 0. It is Bournemouth 0, Blackburn 1. It is Derby 0, Blackpool 0. Hull 1, Bristol City 0. It is Luton 0, Fulham 1. It is Peterborough 0, Millwall 1. And goalless between Preston and Barnsley, Stoke and Middlesbrough, Swansea, Nottingham Forest and West Brom and Reading. No goals in those 4 matches in Scotland. Dundee United 0, Livingston 0. It is Ross County 1, Dundee 2. St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 0. And St Mirren 0, Hibernian 0. Max Verstappen is on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton for the Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi tomorrow, the championship decider, with both drivers level on points, so the Dutchman with the advantage. Leinster 31, Bath 13 in the Champions Cup. That is the latest score, and Leinster absolutely rampant as you'd expect against a team that is bottom of the Premiership in England. Jameson Gibson Park with 2 tries, Hugo Keenan, Tyke Furlong and James Lowe, so the bonus point secured already for Leinster. Just before we got into conversation, asking listeners out there what their first soccer game was that they attended, and we got some great texts in here on 53106. Keep them coming. Here are a few of them. First game I went to was the Ireland-England match at Lansdowne Road in 1995. I was 10. My mother still worries today when I even go to games. We have first trip over to Old Trafford for United against Chelsea in 2003. As a 7-year-old, Dad got offered tickets the day before and only flights left for Saturday morning were in first class. Sat beside Brian Kerr on the flight over. Ireland manager at the time. Got my photo with him and delighted with myself, says Andrew from Meath. My first football match was at Highbury on November the 4th, 1995. United against Arsenal. Bergkamp scoring the winner. Sadly, I was a United fan, but what a day. First Republic of Ireland game, World Cup warm-up match of 1994. Phil Babb, Jason McAteer and Gary Kelly making their debuts, says Dermot in Galway. Well, John, first League of Ireland game was Pats against your Eastern European side in the late 1990s. First Irish game, I can't remember, but the first Spurs match, must be a Spurs fan, was a friendly against Shelbourne. Ozzy was manager. First match at White Hart Lane, the Europa League game against Shamrock Rovers, in which Rovers took the lead, but Spurs won 3-1. And hi, JD, first game was at Talca Park, home farm against Liverpool, early 1980s, part of the Ronnie Whelan transfer deal, I think. Patrick from West Cork. Cheers, lads. The precision of the memories is the dates and all that kind of thing.
It's what you say. Is I was at that Pats game. It was against Zimbru Chisnow, and if there are any Pats fans listening in, and have been canvassing their opinions on what's been happening on the managerial front there today, but they lost 5-0 in the first leg, and there was a lot of expectation because I think it was the year after they got the 0-0 draw against Celtic, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe Liam Buckley said we'll never get hockeyed 5-0 again, and they lost the second leg 5-0.
I think, though, as well, what's interesting about those memories is there's a lot of people out there who would remember a lot of these big pre-season friendlies, that it used to be a lot more common for Liverpool or Manchester United or whoever, to come over in pre-season. I certainly remember Manchester United came to Dundalk in the 90s, Liverpool as well. I think the aforementioned goalkeeper Johnny referenced earlier on, Eddie Van Boxtel saved a penalty from Eric Cantona in one game, and it would have been pretty commonplace. Like you go back in time to the 70s and 80s, and actually, because the European Cup was so small at the time, just with Russia and Yugoslavia just being sort of one country each, you'd actually play these teams in big competitive games on a regular basis, and then it was more so friendlies, and that's changed in recent years, although we've had the odd exception like Shamrock Rovers and Real Madrid, and Chelsea were here a couple of years ago. And people would have got to see Billy Gilmore and a couple of players, and actually in recent years, and you kind of wonder even, is there a little bit of a move away from these big sort of Far Eastern tours, these lucrative money spinning tours, and maybe you might see the odd more frequency of these glamour games here, and I have no problem with them. I know sometimes people will say, maybe from the League of Ireland perspective, these aren't sort of regular fans coming to the games and they're only coming to watch Liverpool or whoever. But I honestly have no problem with that at all, because it's about giving people that taste of just going to a football game, and some of them may stay and just get captivated by the idea of going to live sport regardless of who's playing. And it would be good to see some of those games come back onto the rota on a more regular basis.
That totally happens, JD, where League of Ireland fans became League of Ireland fans by watching the English team play the League of Ireland team in a friendly game and just liked it, and they followed two teams afterwards. It'd be great if there were more like that.
I saw Bohemians against Spurs in 1989 at Dalymount Park.
The old Dahlia.
Gary Lineker played, and I saw Spurs against Shelbourne. I believe it was 1991. I think Gascoigne played. Or
JD, you got to reply on Twitter as well when it comes to niche market games. The great Tommy Conlon replied on Twitter to say his first game was Abbey Rovers versus Sligo Rovers reserves in the FAI Junior Cup 4th round, Strandhill Road in Sligo on New Year's Eve in 1978.
When none of us were born. That is amazing. Tommy Conlon, the great writer from the Sunday Independent,
I assume he did 6 paragraphs and teams on it or something like that. See if the match report still lives somewhere.
Very good. Our own Adrian Barry also in touch on Twitter. First Ireland game was one of Paul McGrath's last. His reading of the play sensational even then. 0-0 against Wales at the Arms Park in 1997. Hooked Hearts and Hughes and speed for Wales with Robbie Savage off the bench.
It was I'd have to really thank my geography teacher Jerry Nocton as well. When I was in the tech, they said, I was in the tech Montpellier in 3rd year, and they said we're going along to Paris for a school tour, and I said, well, if we're going to Paris we have to go to a PSG game, and they were playing in the old Parc des Princes against Lens, and they won the game 2-0, and like for kids in what was that, the mid-90s or whatever, in East Galway, to go to the Parc des Princes was absolutely amazing, and they didn't take much convincing. I think they wanted to go themselves, but it was a great time.
First match, St. Patrick's Athletic against Man United, 1983. Paul McGrath played just before he joined United. My first game in Shamrock Rovers versus Man United. The game finished 2-0, I think, the early 1980s. First League of Ireland game, Cork Hibs versus Cork Celtic. My dad at a packed Flower Lodge in 1971. Both clubs don't exist anymore. This is the thing. My first game.
You were talking about the. Sorry, Jetty. You were talking about the games. The glamour friendlies that used to exist.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you at Shelbourne and Spurs?
Yeah, early 90s.
I'm trying to think when it was.
I think it was 1990 or 1991. I think it might have been the summer of 1990 or 1991.
That sounds about right.
Park.
But
Gascoigne was there because I know Gascoigne. I got a Gaza. Somebody, I don't know, there was some lunch or something in the Burlington or something, and a family or a relative got me the whole team's autographs. And I put it in my room. It was like on a piece of paper, like an A4 piece of paper. We framed it, put it in the room, but the sunlight killed it over the years. So it ended up, there was actually, it was like disappearing ink. So actually it was nothing on the page at the end of it after a few years. So that's the moral of a quite sad story.
I think I'm thinking of a game that might have come a bit after that. I'm not sure where they over again. I definitely remember being at a game in Dublin, League of Ireland side against Spurs, and it was because I remember it being one of the coldest nights ever. I was maybe about 12 years of age, but I remember queuing after the final whistle for ages to get Neil Fenn's autograph. And about 20 years later, I was managing against him.
There you go.
Oh God. That was a very niche request you had at the time as well, Shane, to be fair. Was there a big queue of people ahead of you listen, I know Fenn was a big deal, to be fair, but that's trying to think who else would have been in that Spurs side. Is he the name that stands out from that time?
Look, I suppose a young Irish player trying to break through at Spurs, there haven't been too many of them over the years,
That's true, actually. That is true, to be fair. Yeah, kind of forget actually how highly regarded Fenn was at that stage. But I would have had him I don't know. I would have had you a bit older or him a bit younger or something. I'm not sure which it is, but yeah. Yeah,
I think the nostalgia as well, JD, is there are such simpler times. I mean, we've far too much football on TV nowadays for my liking. I went over to a mate's house last week to watch the Man United game. Couldn't believe it wasn't on. And the Liverpool game against Wolves. There were 2 games in 2 days. It's like, how come they're not? It's almost like you just expect all games to be on TV. And in those days when you were a kid, like as I was saying, the Galway Cork game and the replay of the semi-final wasn't even on TV. And it was such a niche thing to go to a football game.
53106, floods of messages here pre-Christmas on these nostalgic memories, and this is an organic conversation of your first game. First game was United at Everton at Goodison Park. Stubbs scored a free kick to put Everton ahead. United won 4-2 with Chris Eagles. Remember him sparking the United comeback. Saul Bowes against Spurs, August 1978. This was at Dalymount Park. 2 Argentinians, Ozzy and Villa, making their Spurs debut a month after winning the World Cup. 4-0 to Spurs at half-time, but we held them scoreless in the second half. This is Kieran in Dublin. Saw Santi Cazorla in the showgrounds in Bray when Villarreal visited. Watching him warm up was reminding me of the time I saw Tiger Woods practicing his chipping. My first game, October 1989, Liverpool against Spurs, the day before I met John Barnes. Liverpool won the match 1-0. Barnes got the goal. I'll never forget it, says Brian in Dublin. 1999, going to see Man United score 8 goals against Forest at the City Ground. I was 13, wonderful experience, but nothing compared to taking my dad to the Milan derby 6 years ago. Grew up watching Inter on Channel 4 as a child and been mesmerised by the San Siro. Wonderful experience. Great show, lads. Keep up the great work. That's from Luke. Nice one.
Yeah, I've been to the San Siro for Milan derbies as well. It's Lucas. It's a special place, and I'm just slightly fearful of the way Italian football might be going, whether it might just lose that place that it had. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not what it was at all when, as you mentioned, those amazing Channel 4 days.
Yeah, go Lazio. I'm a little older. Man United against Blackpool, old second division, 5-0 Man U. The Docks, great team, won the league, got promoted. I think that might have been about 1975. Steve Staunton's first game beat Sweden 3-0 Baltic. I'm fairly sure Liam Miller scored.
Late Liam Miller, yeah.
He did, yeah. Stephen Ireland's debut as well, that game, yeah.
First Villa game was away to Everton as a gift from my girlfriend. Her dad organised the tickets, but they were in with the Everton fans. Thankfully, the Goodison stewards swapped us to the away end as soon as they saw the jersey. Villa lost 3-2. Schmeichel scored in the last few minutes, which sent us crazy, but alas, not enough in the end.
I remember that game, actually, yeah.
Klinsmann's first game for Spurs was in Talca versus Shells. He moved like a Marvel superhero, says one of our texters on 53106. First game, FAI Cup final 1978, Rovers 1, Sligo 0. Miserable weather. John Carpenter is a legend, hooked ever since, says Ed. I thought he meant the film director, but obviously not, because I know Halloween came out that year as well. So yeah, that's just like, you know, there's so much coming through.
We've
here.
literally spent an hour. Like, did we have actually a running order here today? You know?
We had a running order, and none of this was on the running order. So just let you know, folks, is, now Chelsea have scored. Chelsea 2, Leeds 1. This is at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League. And the goal has gone in from Jorginho, a penalty for the pensioners. So they've come from behind to lead 2-1. It is still Liverpool 0, Aston Villa 0, and it is Arsenal 2, Southampton 0 in the Premier League. Man City 1, Wolves 0 earlier on. Norwich against Man United at 5:30. Shane Keegan, how are you been impressed by Rangnick so far? Are you fascinated what he's going to do? I just can't wait to see how this plays out at Man U.
Yeah, look, I suppose the big thing you've already touched on it, JD, is he seems so definite about what he wants. He seems, first of all, very definite about himself as an individual, which is exactly what they needed, I suppose, really, when, you know, Solskjaer seemed to change his mind as to what he wanted from his team and what sort of a manager he was. This guy is the complete and utter opposite. Everybody is, without a doubt, going to have to jump to his beat. And if they don't, they're just not going to feature. It's as simple as that. And it's exactly what United required at the moment. Look, I still think he has his work cut out. I think that
you've said this before, Shane, though. I think you're slightly down on the quality in that team, are you not? Because you're saying, like, if somebody comes in and replaces Solskjaer, like, God, there's not they're only just set amount of players, but they've actually very good players, have they not?
Defensively, do you think they have? Do you think they can construct a decent back four? I mean, and what, you know, at the moment, thankfully he doesn't have to worry about the Pogba dilemma. But what's he going to do when that comes back as well? Every time I've seen them, I just can't get over how poor they look defensively. The only way for them to defend is going to be in numbers. You know, they have to work so hard at trying not to allow players to get isolated and try for the defenders to have to do as little defending as possible, basically, is what I think. Look, he'll improve them. There's no doubt he'll improve them, but I would be extremely surprised if he managed to get them a top 4 position still.
Would you?
Honest.
Extremely surprised, yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Would you? Who? Look, I suppose there's a little bit of biasness going on here. If you were putting that lovely house on it that you're living in, JD or Johnny, who would you go? Would
Nobody,
you go with United or Spurs to finish ahead of each other?
I don't think you can pick that now. Look, the Spurs COVID thing, how is that going to affect them? Like, the Leicester game is potentially in doubt now. Like, could players like suffer for that? I mean, Kai Havertz, remember last year, like was really out of form because of the COVID situation. So like West Ham, just keep on defying logic. And the thing with them is the injuries to their defence. Ogbonna now and Zuma is out as well for West Ham. So will they falter?
They won't be.
They've got the Europa League as well, and Leicester have collapsed.
I don't know, lads. I mean, I think, like, if you look at it, Manchester United have had, a bad start to the season. They've got to the situation where they've had to change their manager, and there was crisis points along the way that led to them to that position. Big defeats, and they're 3 points off fourth.
And they have a very good run of games now, Dan.
They're 3 points off fourth. It's not as if they've been left in a situation where they're sort of 8, 9, 10 points off it. Like, they just basically need to play in any way close to their. Like, Man U wouldn't even need to do an amazingly good job to get them to finish fourth.
I agree. I think sadly you're right, Dan. You're right, sadly.
Just need to get them to be reasonably competent, and they'll finish fourth, I would have thought, And I would have been, in previous years, I would have doubted their ability to maybe finish in the top 4 at times, and they came second, but I still think, they should pick up enough points. And I just don't think there's that one, and sort of Shane half alluded to it there, it's not as if there's that one outstanding candidate there that's their rival. I just think on account of that they'll get enough points, definitely.
They have an extremely favourable run of games as well.
Well, that's why clubs make the decisions that they do with the matches ahead of them.
Like, they were too late with this. They should have made this before the Watford game.
But Conte as well had he'd Brentford at home, he'd Leeds at home, he'd Norwich at home in the first 4 games. So it's easy to make those decisions. Harry Kane's not scoring enough goals for Spurs. Still has to prove himself. I don't think Spurs are gonna make it. I think Dan is right. I think United will probably be the top 4. Just going to read out some of these before we.
Tell you what I would find.
Go on.
I'll tell you what I would find interesting, lads, is what the dynamic is going to be next season. Because, obviously, if he does do a really, really good job, you're going to be, whoever the new man coming in to replace him, with him sitting upstairs, is going to be under a lot of pressure, aren't they?
Well, is he replaced?
Well, they have to be in simpatico, because it's not going to work otherwise. Because this guy is extremely clear, and I find his press conference brilliant, about what he wants. And I can't imagine him, I've got all this philosophy as a technical consultant, and Pochettino or Ten Hag or somebody else comes in and they've got a strong personality and they want to do things their way. It doesn't seem to me that it's a workable situation. Like, what is a technical consultant? United already have a director of football in John Mercia, and then they have Darren Fletcher in there in some kind of technical role. So to me, it's almost like United are deciding for themselves, you know what, we'll just buy a bit of time here, we'll get to the summer, we'll see how Rangnick does. Totally. And if Rangnick does really well, and he looks like, for a 63-year-old, he looks energetic, vibrant, he might get the job for the next 2 to 3 years. I just think United have been burnt, obviously, by Solskjaer, and they don't want to go back to the situation where they're making a commitment, as they did in the summer, to give somebody a 3-year deal. But I do think if Rangnick can improve them, and as Dan says, and Dan's probably right, get them into the top 4, then who knows? And because United don't seem to have any lack of a war chest.
Shane is right as well. Yeah, that's the other thing. But Shane's right. They do need to play a certain way where they kind of defend in numbers. They have extreme pace on the break, and that's kind of the way they should play in a lot of games, which they were effective with under Solskjaer. And you saw this season, like in his kind of the end of his reign, that they had absolutely no pattern whatsoever. Bruno Fernandes completely lost his form as well. So I think there's massive upside there. And in terms of, like, you see the defensiveness changes that he's made, including Shaw, who's been completely out of sorts. I think they should be good enough to get top 4, to be honest. That's just my opinion.
There was a great piece by Aidan Fitzmaurice, your colleague there, Dan, today on Andrew Omo Bamidele, who could play for Norwich against United. We'll get the team now in a few minutes' time. There's a couple of things I took out of it. First of all,
Penno, JD.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you.
We'll come to that. No, just what's happened here? It's a penalty to Liverpool.
Penalty. Salah's gone down. For me, Mane should have been given a penalty on VAR in the first half. And Salah's, who's been absolutely brilliant in the game, he's kind of collecting the ball, just puts his body kind of out, and it's a little bit harsh, maybe.
So it's Tyrone Mings on Mo Salah.
Mings,
is this going to VAR?
It's more of a coming together, really.
Yeah.
That's
not
enough.
A penalty.
I think he'll give it, JD. Yeah, I think
it's a clumsy situation, but
Mings, he plays a bit like that on the edge. I think he'll give it.
Yeah, Liverpool 0, Aston Villa 0. 64 minutes on the watch. The return to Stevie G to Anfield is going to be going against him with Mo Salah with his ball in his hand there. What else is going on in the Premier League? Well, it's now Arsenal 3. Southampton 0. So who needs a Aubameyang when you have Gabriel Martinelli, who's got the 3rd goal for the Gunners, and Chelsea 2 leads 1. Jorginho in the second half, scoring for Chelsea, who went behind to a Rafinha goal, but they equalised through Mason Mount, and Mo Salah now has got a chance to give Liverpool.
Best player in the world at the moment. Fair enough.
Well, he's not the 7th best player of the world.
No,
I know it's a different time and all that kind of thing, but
the form he is in, that pass was on about where I thought Mane should have been given a penalty. That like no look pass, and he's done that a couple of times in recent games. I've never seen him play so well, and
give him the contract.
let him score this goal now.
Get the checkbook out and give him the contract. He's got one more big contract in him, Mo Salah, who's on 13 goals this season in the Premier League. As he closes his eyes and he takes a deep breath, even top footballers have to do that in the Premier League, as Liverpool and Aston Villa are tied at goals at the moment. Martinez bouncing across his line. It's a murky day at Anfield, and Mo Salah just composing himself, running up to it now, and he takes it and he puts it into the bottom corner. Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0 in front of the Kop. Mo Salah, 14 goals now in the Premier League this season, and Liverpool have first blood.
Brilliant penalty. Low to the right, Dan. Exactly as you would have done if you got that Dundalk career you were looking for.
Well, I've spoken before about taking a penalty in front of the Kop, which was saved. So,
I've had
that experience.
How did that come about?
I've done this before. It's like dynamite in the same story. No, it was half time in Jan Malby's testimonial when I was 12 or 13. No, I don't know what age I was. It was 95, so 12 or 13, and I was over playing in a tournament over there. And one person on every team in the tournament, it was like a sort of an under 14 tournament, under 13 tournament. One person got to take a penalty, so I was drawn out for our team and got to go at half time, take a penalty in front of the Kop. I think it was Liverpool and PSV Eindhoven in the game. And the penalty was saved by a Sky Sports reporter called Rob Palmer, who I have an irrational grudge against ever since. So there we go.
Any photos of that, Dan?
There's a video of it actually, yeah, but it would need to be converted to
we got to do that, JD. Christmas special.
VHS or whatever, yeah. I do have the video somewhere. But to go back to the point about Omo Bamidele, which that you referenced, like he is a very interesting case study in a way, in terms of in a lot of what's going on around underage football in Ireland at the moment. And I know you would have spoken about this last week, so I'm not going to go down the same road again. But he was someone who probably, to use language that people don't like, he wouldn't have been considered elite when he was coming through the ranks. And that's something that's touched on in the piece. He wouldn't have been an outstanding player at sort of maybe 12, 13, 14, or wouldn't have been viewed as an outstanding player, and would have stayed with Leixlip United. Now, he would have been coming through at a time when the underage national leagues were taking root, but weren't necessarily 100% set in stone. And it would have been, it'll be harder for a player coming through now to go the route that he did by staying with Leixlip United as his sort of club that he was with the whole way, and not going to sort of play for whoever, Pats or Rovers or one of the teams in the locality.
Even Club Kildare.
And at the age of sort of 16, he was on that circuit of going for trials. And again, it's like the headline today references how Rotherham at one stage delivered a report that was quite scathing of him. And this is obviously one of the issues with the experiences that you go through. You place your whole value in the eyes of sort of one or two people's subjective judgment, and a lot of value is placed on it. And clubs rejected him, and they will probably, some of them will feel quite silly now, because by going to play at Premier League level for Norwich, he is in the 0.1% or something that actually gets there from all the sort of academy or players in his year and his generation. So he is one who is the classic, the late bloomer, the late developer, who seemed like he benefited from staying playing with his mates and retained his enjoyment of the game, and then just steadily improved and gained a bit more belief. And Norwich saw something in a trial, maybe that the game for his team didn't go particularly well, but they saw something in the player. I think the line is, I don't have it in front of me, it wasn't for the player he is now, but for the player he can become. And that's what you're looking for from Talent ID. It's not necessarily always about being the outstanding player on the pitch at that time. It's the one that maybe shows the most potential. And he's one who, when you talk about late bloomer, it was late bloomer in the context of his teenage years and the sort of reductive way that people sort of value players at that stage. But actually, he's now miles ahead of the curve by progressing to play Premier League football as a teenager. And it does appear, and I think I've probably mentioned this before, you sort of hear it at Norwich, they are genuinely very excited about him, that in terms of all the criteria they're looking for. And they had Ben Godfrey from Everton there a couple of years ago on loan. I think they feel he's very much, he's on that sort of trajectory in terms of what he can do. So, it all seems good. And I suppose it is, and Shane would be obviously very much aware of this from having probably worked with some very, precocious talents when they were younger, that it's not always the obvious ones that come to the fore. And it does appear to be the case with him.
Shane?
He was excellent last weekend, JD. He was really, really good. I know the final score might have been 3-0, but it's amazing. You go over as a Spurs fan and you sit down and the next thing the team sheet comes out, and surprisingly both himself and Adam Ida are starting, and all of a sudden you've almost got mixed emotions. Obviously you're still cheering on Spurs, but the two players you most want to see do well were both wearing yellow. And Ida had his moments. He missed an absolute sitter, so he did. But Omo Bamidele was excellent. He really, really was. I know Son got a goal, but in general he got very, very little change off him. They were almost direct opponents of each other in the game, and he was so composed on the ball. He was. I'd be stunned if he hasn't held on to his place.
No, he's not involved. He's not involved at all in the squad. So we don't know him. He's just breaking news. We don't know the reasons why. Ida's on the bench. Man United unchanged from their win over Crystal Palace. We got to take a break, folks. Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0 in the Premier League. It is Chelsea 2, Leeds 1, and Arsenal 3, Southampton 0. Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk is back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Arsenal versus Leicester in the Women's Super League this Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports. Shop local this Christmas and help make a difference. To feature your business in the Pat Kenny Show, mail us at shoplocal@newstalk.com. With thanks to Elevon.
Malloy's, winners of the National Off Licence of the Year. Now delivering all your corporate gifts and wines nationwide. Shop in store or online at malloys.ie. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Make everyone's Christmas merry and bright with the perfect gift. At CompuBee, we have a few bright ideas of our own to help you make this Christmas truly special. From iPad to AirPods, Apple Watch to MacBook, we have all the latest from Apple and the expertise to make sure you choose a gift they'll never forget. When you think Apple, think CompuBee, your local Apple expert. Visit your local store or compubee.com.
No matter how busy we are, how can we make the most of our lives each day? By spending quality time together or spending time giving back? However you spend each day with Debit MasterCard, spend it doing what matters most to you. Because a life well spent is truly priceless. Learn more at mastercard.ie.
InsureMyCars.ie.
Don't cut corners on your car insurance. Get a better quote at InsureMyCars.ie, Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. We search the market to get you the best cover at the lowest prices.
InsureMyCars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
For over 25 years, Tunstall Emergency Response has been caring for older and vulnerable members of the community. And today we provide affordable care to over 50,000 people living in their own homes. Our large range of home sensors ensures peace of mind, especially in areas of concern like falls risk and dementia. And our team is always on hand with 24/7 monitoring. Call 0818 999 24/7 or visit tunstall.ie. Tunstall Emergency Response. You're in safe hands.
Make this Christmas sparkle with the Pandora Bracelet promotion. Still looking for the perfect gift? Or a festive treat for yourself? Spend €109 or more to receive your free silver bracelet. But hurry, this offer won't be around for long. Ends Sunday the 12th of December, while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
This Christmas, make a list.
Premier League World Darts Championship.
Heineken Champions Cup.
Check everything twice.
VAR have a really close look at this.
Find out who's naughty.
It is absolute mayhem.
And who's nice.
He has been incredible.
Enjoy live action from the Premier League, the Heineken Champions Cup, and the William Hill World Darts Championship. With Now Sports and Sports Extra memberships from €10. Stream a spectacular season of sport with Now. 18 plus, content streamed via internet, terms apply.
Do you know pneumo? Pneumo is short for pneumococcal disease. Like the common cold, pneumococcal infection is spread by close contact through coughing and sneezing. Invasive pneumococcal disease is a very serious illness. Of those who develop an invasive infection, 1 in 4 will get pneumonia, 1 in 4 will get meningitis, and 1 in 10 will die. If you know pneumo, you'll know that people aged 65 and older or people with chronic conditions like diabetes, asthma or heart disease are at risk. Know pneumo. Know how to protect yourself. Talk to your GP or pharmacist today or visit pneumo.ie. Brought to you by MSD, supported by Diabetes Ireland and CRE.
At the Hermitage Clinic, we want all of our patients to have total peace of mind even before they arrive. And arriving at the Hermitage Clinic couldn't be easier. We're located at the junction of the M50 and M4 Galway Road. And for added peace of mind, treatment at the Hermitage Clinic is fully covered by the majority of private healthcare plans. So, if you need world-class medical treatment, ask your GP for a referral to the Hermitage Clinic, a member of the BlackRock Healthcare Group. Visit hermitageclinic.ie.
Air quality has never been more important in the battle against COVID. So what can we do? Welcome to Zen Air, home to some of the most powerful air purifiers today. Powered by Active Pure technology, originally developed by NASA and scientifically proven to kill 99% of airborne COVID in 3 minutes. Zen Air is ideal for schools, offices and retail spaces. Discover more on zenair.ie.
This Christmas, let them choose. Choose from the best in Irish-owned or sustainable brands. Choose from luxury fashion, the ultimate in beauty or world-class homeware design. Choose from an in-store experience or shopping online. Brown Thomas and Arnott's gift cards are now accepted in both stores and won't expire. So purchase a Brown Thomas or Arnott's gift card this Christmas and let them choose.
This Christmas, transform your entertainment experience with a Samsung Neo QLED TV.
breathtaking brightness, extreme blacks and exquisite picture detail. Samsung Neo QLED TVs set a new benchmark in TV technology. Shop the Samsung range online at powercity.ie.
At SuperValue, we want to share even more magic this Christmas by giving you savings off your shopping with our Real Rewards vouchers, which are available on our handy app. So no need to worry about leaving them at home. If you haven't already, download the Real Rewards app to get new vouchers every week until Christmas. Share the magic this Christmas with SuperValue.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, watch Norwich versus Man United on Saturday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
You're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 in the company of Johnny Ward, Dan McDonnell and Shane Keegan. You can text us 53106. Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0. Mo Salah penalty at Anfield. Chelsea 2, Leeds 1 with goals by Mason Mount and Jorginho. Artur Rafinha put Leeds in front. Arsenal 3, Southampton 0. So Arsenal scoring through Odegaard, Lacazette and Gabriel at the Emirates Stadium. Man City 1, Wolves 0. Man United kick off against Norwich at 5:30. An unchanged United team. Ida is on the bench for the Canaries. Oma Bamidele not involved. Leinster are leading Bath 38 points to 13. That is in the Champions Cup opener at the Aviva Stadium. The bonus points secured. Jameson Gibson Park with 2 tries. Hugo Keenan, Tyg Furlong, James Lowe and Ronan Kelleher are also touching down. And Max Verstappen is on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix tomorrow, the championship decider. Hamilton second on the grid, but Verstappen clocking the best time in qualifying today. Now, Brighton and Republic of Ireland star Shane Duffy sat down for some media interviews this week, and our own Nathan Murphy spoke to him about Stephen Kenny and plenty else. Have a listen.
On the Ireland situation, it's interesting that you were obviously left out of the side for a period. There was the time when Seamus Coleman wasn't in there, James McLean wasn't in the team, the 3 most experienced players. There was never a sense, though, that any of you threw your toys out of the pram, that you sort of kept with it. Privately, were you having conversations, asking Stephen Kenny about what you had to do to get back in?
Not really. I think it's different when you're playing for your country. It's not about you. It's about what's the best for the team and the country. And that's the 3 players there. That's the kind of characters we are. It's never really been about us. It's about what's the best for the team and they start winning games. So you believe with the manager and that was the right decision for me. In my case, anyway, I wasn't playing well and I wasn't even playing at Celtic. So I think he realised that and they took me out of the limelight a little bit was a good thing for me as well. And just to regroup and give me a push as well. I want to get back in the team and that's what I tried to do.
The contract situation is obviously still up in the air and it seemed to be either end it now or extend till the end of the next qualification campaign. It feels there might be something in between of extending for a few months till the end of the Nations League campaign so that he gets the full 6 games. What's your feeling on what should happen?
Well, it's not up to me, but I think I've stated that I really enjoy it. I think we're getting to a stage now where he's getting his team, or the way it's looking at the minute, a couple of good results, and every manager needs a bit of time. And I think everyone's seen that we were going through a little transition period where it's going to take time. The results weren't good at the start, but for me, I love it. I love turning up, and I love the passion he has as a man for how he wants to manage his country, and that reflects on the players, and we love it. So listen, it's not up to me, but I'm really happy with Steve, and I hope he gets another chance to get the major tournament. So we'll have to see. But as a player's point of view, it's really a good camp at the minute, and looking forward.
And finally, can I just ask you about Anthony Barry and his influence and 3 at the back, which obviously he's doing with Chelsea and what you're doing with Ireland, as to what his role is, how involved he has been with the defenders?
Anthony's been great since he's come in, and he's put maybe a little bit something different than what we haven't had. But I've got to say as well that Keith does a lot of work behind the scenes where you won't see, but I think both of them work really well together, where the manager will have his say on the final bit, of course, but just the detail with both of them that they go in there is really something the Ireland players have had for a long time. So, really technical and little small details is vital for him, and we try and feed off that.
It is an endorsement, Shane Keegan. Listen to Shane Duffy there.
Certainly is, yeah. Not the first time either. He's spoken very highly of him on a few occasions now. So he has. Look, all the players have. Chihadi, they really have, and they were due before the results clicked as well. Now, as I've said before, it doesn't matter how much faith you have in a manager, unless the results eventually come, that faith will start to dissipate. And I think the results landed just at the right time for Ireland. I think had that run gone on a little bit longer, the players then do, as much as they believe in it, they would start to question it. But no, they stuck behind him. And they're not just saying good things now because things are a little bit sunnier at the moment,
Josh van der Fleur's got another try for Leinster now, 45 points to 13 against Bath. Liverpool should have scored a second there, Johnny, as well.
Amazing stuff from Villa, because they're pressing hard for an equaliser, but they literally left, I think they had 9 players in the Liverpool half, and Liverpool had a 3-on-1 practically at the halfway line. And Salah, who I've often accused of being a bit too selfish at times, he was kind of caught in two minds. It was on his left foot, and he ended up passing and was blocked. But 8, I think, lively minutes left. It was an amazing scenario there. Out of nothing, Villa had literally 1 player back against 3 on the halfway line.
Leeds have scored.
Johnny, he won't thank Mane for the pass though. Mane's completely underhit that pass. Salah's had to break.
True, Shane.
Down to it.
Yeah.
Joe Gelhardt has scored for Leeds at Chelsea, 2-2 now in the Premier League. These are really important results. If Liverpool are winning and City won earlier on against Wolves, that's not a good result for Chelsea if they're taking 1 point out of 6 against West Ham and Leeds.
Big time for them at the moment, JD. There was you mentioned Anthony Barry there. The Athletic had a really, really good piece. I thought this was a really interesting piece, and dare I say, it's slightly alarming piece in that basically one of the main kind of things to take away from it is this lad is going to be managing sooner or later, and when he is, I presume he's not going to be involved in it with Ireland. So I think we should be thankful that we have him for as long as we have.
Coleman and Duffy and McLean being back in the loop, Dan, it was important for Stephen Kenny. I know he dropped them at different stages and all that. That can happen, that's fine, but
I mean, and there's pretty different scenarios with all 3 of them. Coleman, he dropped him for his first game, and I think, in hindsight, and I heard Kev Coban talking about it during the week, as much as there was a big clamour for Matt Doherty at the time, I think it's now clear to see the value of always picking Seamus Coleman, I think, and probably over time he's evolved to find a system that suits both of them, which is even better, because Doherty has been excellent. The Duffy one, I think, it's a sort of, there was even some attempts to suggest there was a big mistake by Kenny to drop Duffy in March, whereas I think, as Duffy alluded to and has mentioned several times, it was almost the right thing to do for Duffy at that stage, because I think if he'd been exposed to, he'd already was suffering from his sort of reputation being damaged at Celtic. I think if he'd come in and played for Ireland and had some big howler in an Irish shirt, and probably wouldn't have helped him at that stage. And I think Kenny has managed that one quite well. And I mean, McLean, in theory, he still drops McLean. He picked Enda Stevens against Portugal, but it's more, I think, within an international window, within a sort of the scope of a double header or a treble header. I think he recognises what McLean brings to the mix, and he's not going to probably start him in every game, but I think when he's maybe looking to inject some energy to proceedings, you kind of look for McLean, as he did for the second game against Luxembourg. And I think maybe one of the things that Kenny has learned is just how to navigate those international, the sort of the timing of those windows, and as Liverpool getting a complete fluster here, but the timing of those windows and realising, I think the nadir of a game really was the Luxembourg game at home, but also to a degree the Azerbaijan game at home as well, where he probably just didn't get the balance of his team selection right. And I think you can see that's one of the things they addressed across the year, that in October and November, the changes they made from game 1 to game 2 were sensible, whereas maybe they just didn't get that balance right earlier in the year, and it cost them.
Oh, Johnny's just watching Liverpool still leading Aston Villa 1-0.
Amazing stuff, JD. I think Matip and Alisson just have this complete mix-up. It's actually... So Alisson then lashes the ball at Matip. I think he gets away with one here. I'm just looking at Alisson flaps at the ball at the edge of the box. He hits the ball off Matip, then hits Alisson himself Oh, that to me, that's a penalty.
Danny Ings went down under...
Is it Danny Ings, ex-Liverpool player? I think that for me is a penalty. They got away with one there.
1-0 Liverpool against Aston Villa. Just on the text on your first game, 53106, some good ones here before we finish up, folks. First pro game, 1980, Waterford against Bordeaux, UEFA Cup. My mother appeared at the classroom door to take me out of school for the match. Totally unexpected. Saw Jean Duggan and Luis Fernandez of the French national squad. Unbelievable, says Sean in Shankill. My first game was 18th of April 1987, playing under 12s for Kilnamanagh. We went on a weekend trip to Rill to play a friendly competition against a couple of Welsh and English teams. Part of the weekend trip was to Anfield to see Liverpool Notts Forest. We were only about 6 rows back, right behind the Anfield Road goal. 3-0 for Liverpool. Ronnie Whelan scoring with a lovely side volley right in front of us. Never forget it. Lifelong Reds fan ever since. Thank God it wasn't a trip to Goodison last weekend, says Brendan and Tala. I'm a German in Dublin. My first match was a Bundesliga game, 1860 Munich versus MSV Duisburg. Early 80s in the Olympic Stadium in Munich. My dad. We won 2-1. A player got his leg broken in a tackle. Considered not even a foul. Those are the days. Atmosphere electric. We'll never forget it. Was only 13 PS. I was barred from matches by my mother. For some time after that, she claimed I picked up bad language. First game, Cork Hibs against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the old European Cup. Watching Gunter Netzer, midfielder on the West Germany national team, spraying the ball around the park. 5-0 defeat, but left in awe of how football should be played, says Jim. Gavin Riley on Twitter, first match, David O'Leary's testimonial, 4-2 trashing by Hungary in 93. First club game, the same United versus Chelsea game in 2003. Friday night ferry, overnight trains, Diego Forlan winning an added time. Cherished memory. And on glamour friendlies for League of Ireland teams, the whole family went to Shelbourne versus Harchester United. Yes, the dream team in January 2001.
That day was the same day, wasn't it, Dan, as the 6-4 in the Morton Stadium? That was one of the grimmest days ever for if you were a League of Ireland fan.
A dark moment.
That is Gavin Riley from News Talk on Sundays here.
Oh, well, there you go, Gav. You know, there. It's like it's. I mean, no wonder you go into the political realm after it started going for the show. The showbiz of the shallow personalities of Harchester United.
Dan will know that I was quite hostile to English football fans in Ireland when I got hardcore into the League of Ireland initially, but that was probably the lowest of the low because there were more people watching Harchester United Shelbourne than a 6-4 game between Bows and Rovers.
But hey, listen, Ollie Byrne, the money was banked. The money was banked and Shells won a couple of leagues,
Wow.
So I mean, there's always someone. If you want to make a buck off people, why not? Let
20 years ago, you still not over, Johnny. First League of Ireland match, April 1965, Glenmalure Park, Shamrock Rovers against Limerick. First Irish international against West Germany. 4th of May 1966 for the World Cup. Most of the German players played in the final against England, says Terry in Rathfarnham. My first game was Milan against Juventus in the San Siro, 1997. Maldini, Clivert, Inzaghi, Del Piero, Zidane. Enough said.
That nearly beats it all. Zidane, Inzaghi, to be like your first game, amazing.
1981-82, Limerick played Southampton in the Euro tie at the Old Dell. Kevin Keegan said after the game that Tony Ward would have made a good soccer player. Ward said afterwards that Keegan would have made a great rugby player. Says one of our texters in 53106. My first Ireland game was Lansdowne Road, 1989, Ireland against Malta. I was 12. I ate all the Maltesers. My dad was not impressed. A lad behind me kept calling Dave O'Leary Mick as a protest to Mick McCarthy taking Dave's place before his comeback. On that day, says Owen. Makeda coming on and scoring with Ronaldo at Old Trafford, one of our textures on High Grace. Great show. First game, Arsenal, League of Ireland selection, the early 90s, Eddie McGoldrick and Arsenal team. First European game, Bows Bordeaux. A Bordeaux team with Zidane and Dugarry, the late 90s, I think.
Do you know what the Bows fans used to chant at that game? I was told many times, we'll get the ball in a minute.
Brilliant stuff.
That was Zidane's, the Zidane era. Yeah, I think they lost 5-1 or something.
Liz Razou played as well, I think, didn't he, in that team? I think.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the texts and this organic requests for folks and their first game. Hi guys, regarding the League of Ireland, you have to be a Shamrock Rovers player to be considered for Ireland. No mention of Chris Forrester, for instance, back in top form, from Tom, a Pats fan in Maynooth. And he signed a new deal this week, lads.
He did indeed, for Tim Clancy rather than Stevie O'Donnell, who was unveiled as the Dundalk manager. It's a shame that we don't have another 2 hours to talk about that, because I think we could. Maybe even wonder what Stevie and Tim's first match was as a young lad. But if we're here this time next year, JD, I think we'll have talked about an amazing League of Ireland campaign. Can't wait for it.
Raheem Sterling's coming back to his best form, says one of our texters, D in Dublin. First goal match winner today, first goal last week. He's joined the illustrious 100-goal club in the Premier League. Just in time for the congested Christmas schedule. Apparently would fancy a move, but as a model professional who's giving all for his club, an amazing guy in an ever-evolving team. Guardiola's innovation is key. Man City's joyous and successful football, says D. Thanks for your text on 53106. So Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0. Johnny,
do you think they got away with one there? I think Alisson got away with one.
Yeah, that was a penalty for me. Danny Ings.
But there were two incidents there, and I don't know like why they're getting away with it in this day and age, because I think Ings they just didn't go back to it, so it obviously wasn't deemed a penalty. But for me, that was a penalty. Yeah, and Alisson is. I don't know. Alisson's a concern for me. I don't know. He's not a concern if you want Keegan Kelleher to be playing, but for me, he looks far more shaky at times than he used to.
He goes through phases of.
Yeah, what you really want, lads, is Stephen Gerrard to come out and say you don't get those decisions at Anfield.
Yeah.
You know that'd be the ultimate end to the day.
Did you see it, Dan?
He'll really have. You know, I did. I thought it was a shout for a penalty. Yeah, but I mean, he really has to prove himself as a Villa man now by saying, you don't get the decisions here. You know, you never get the decisions here. I've got a couple of myself over the years. You know, you should go with that one. It's very unlikely, I think, he'll do that, though.
Salah's amazing, JD, the way he's playing at the moment.
And to finish, my lads, my first Nottingham Forest game against QPR in 1987, it was 1-1 with 29 minutes to go. My dad made us leave. By the time we crossed the Trent Bridge, Forest scored another 3, says Sean in League Slip. The memories never leave you, folks. The memories never leave you. Shane Keegan, are you going to predict United win tonight?
Yeah. No, it's hard to see them not having it comfortable enough there. Now, again, look, like I said, JD, they had some great chances last week. They were actually quite impressive for a team that lost 3-0. They were quite impressive last week, so they were, and they did miss a couple of sitters. But I don't know, this has a...
Chelsea have scored. Sorry to interrupt you. Chelsea have scored.
Yes.
Big goal just coming through there. Jorginho with another penalty, his second of the game against Leeds United. So Chelsea 3, Leeds 2. Chelsea have got it at the death. Chelsea 3, Leeds 2 in the Premier League. Man City 1, Wolves 0 as a result. Arsenal 3, Southampton 0 in stoppage time. And Liverpool about to win 1-0 up against Aston Villa. Dan and Shane, thanks so much for this afternoon. Love the chat.
Thanks, Sean. Shane.
Great stuff, JD.
And Johnny, thank you.
Hope you're not like sacked now for such a deviation from the script.
Well, look, we make the script, so you know it's not too bad. But also, listeners, folks, and championship scores. We're going to get to those now. Also, Leinster 45, Bath 13 is the latest from the rugby. So Leinster are going to get that bonus point. Huddersfield 1, Coventry 1 at full time. Birmingham 2, Cardiff 2 is the latest. Bournemouth 0, Blackburn 2. Derby 1, Blackpool 0 is the latest score. Hull 2, Bristol City 2. Luton 1, Fulham 1 is the latest. Also Peterborough 2, Millwall 1. Preston 2, Barnsley 1 is the latest. It has finished Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 0. A late goal. Nottingham Forest now 4-1. Forest 4-1 up against Swansea. And also we got West Brom 1, Reading 0. It's just gone full time. Scotland, Dundee United 0, Livingston 1. It's over. Ross County 3,
Anfield, JD.
Dundee 2, St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 1, and St Mirren 1, Hibs 1. So Stephen Gerrard going back to Anfield, beaten Aston Villa, losing by a goal to 0 to Liverpool. Mo Salah with the winner from the penalty spot. Got to leave it there. Joe Molloy back in the chair 1-7 with Off the Ball tomorrow. Live commentary of Munster against Wasps in the Champions Cup. Kicking off at 3:15. Conor Morris and Andy Dunn providing the call. Tommy Conlon and Gavin Cooney on the papers. Also got the latest updates on that Formula 1 finale between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Be sure to join us tomorrow for great commentary and conversation. If you missed any of the panel with John Watson, Rebecca Clancy and David Kennedy on that Formula 1 finale or Football Saturday, check out the podcasts on the OTB Sports app or wherever you get your pods. Thanks so much for listening this afternoon. We will speak soon. Bye-bye.